Robotics Show. Today we are here with Mechatronics number 3313 from Alexandria High School. It is Ethan, Andrew, and Bridger. That is from right to left. And guys, just overall, how's it going today?
Yeah, so it's going great today. I mean, we have our first competition coming up next week, and we're absolutely ready and geared up for that. We're super excited.
Awesome. And yeah, and while we're talking about it, you just want to tell us a little bit about that first competition, where it will take place, what's it called, just kind of basic information like that.
Yeah, so we're going to the Great Northern Regional, which is in Grand Forks at the Allura Center. We're going to be there from next Wednesday to next Saturday, and it's just when we get there, we're going to help set up the field, and the next couple of days are going to be filled with some competition, followed by some finals and then awards, and we're headed back.
Awesome. And just overall, how are all three of you guys feeling about your robot at this point?
I think it's coming together. Yeah, just yesterday we got our one of our main mechanisms working that kind of raises a shooter for the main game element this year.
Okay.
Yeah, we're all super excited. This robot has been a work in progress for a while now, and we're absolutely elated and excited to see it running in competition next week.
Awesome. And tell us a little bit about your guys' selves. How long have you guys been in robotics? What made you guys want to join, and just your kind of individual roles with Mechatronics?
Sure. So I've been in robotics since 2019. When I was in grade school, I joined the FLL team, which uses the little Lego robots. And the way our school has it set up, as you go through grades, you can kind of age through robots with getting more advanced systems. So I've gone through pretty much the whole program, just joining the high school team this year.
And I just joined this year, actually. I've had a brother that was in it, but I hadn't previously been in robotics.
I joined, 4 years ago when I was a freshman. That was my first year in robotics as a program, but I joined because my brother was in, and I said, why not, have some fun, come around, hang around with him a bit, and ended up being a passion of mine.
Awesome. And for you three overall, what's your guys' favorite aspect of robotics over your years? I know, Andrew, you mentioned this is your first year, but just overall, what has been your guys' favorite, I should say, just favorite memory so far that you guys have made in robotics?
I think my favorite aspect of robotics so far is just the team atmosphere and really trying to build each other up.
I like the fact that it's an unconventional sport that still has a lot of tension and interesting ways you can go about strategizing with the game, just like something like hockey or football. There's a lot of ideas that can be pulled together from inside the team and outside the team.
And my favorite part is this team functionally acts like a family. And my best example is one of my favorite memories. Last year, we went down to Missouri for a regional, and on the bus ride there and at the hotel, we got together and played a game of D&D, a couple members of our team. And that was super fun, super enjoyable, and really, it felt like we were a family at that time. And that's like my favorite part.
Now, while we're on the topic of your team, overall, how big is your guys' program over there for the Mechatronics? How many people you have in robotics over there?
We have 18 students and
6 mentors?
I think it's like 8 mentors. Okay, it's over 6 mentors, but under 10. We don't know that number exactly, but for a total of about 26 kids on the team, or people on the team, including adults.
Awesome. And how long has your guys' robotics program been around in that Alexandria High School?
Yeah.
The Mechatronics started in 2009 at the Tech College, and over time has shifted over to being located at DMS, our local middle school, which has given us access to their metal shop, which used to be a 9th grade classroom area, but now with the newer high school 9th grade being in that building, we pretty much have full access to a lot of tools that didn't get carried over. So we've got a good workspace since 2009 and good backing.
Awesome. And like we mentioned earlier, you guys will be competing in I believe you said the Northern Regional. Is that what it's called?
The Great Northern Regional.
The Great Northern Regional. And like last year, you guys will be playing an event, but the game is different every year. And I guess just overall, what's been the biggest difference from last year as you guys move into this year? What has been some, I guess, just changes you guys have had to make, and what are the biggest changes, I should say?
So on the game itself, some of the biggest changes that we've had to look at is there is a climbing portion of the game where your robot has to elevate itself from the ground. This year, beyond just climbing, our robot also has to shoot another game piece into an elevated position, which has been a bit of a challenge. But another more internal challenge is we've had to more carefully design our robot and fully use a computer-aided design to sketch it up in 3D, which is the first time we've ever done this, and it's been a challenge, but a very fun challenge that we've had this year.
Awesome. And what are some new, I guess, things you've learned working on this robot this year that you maybe didn't know last year? What are some areas you guys have seen big growth? And yeah, just some new things that you guys have learned throughout the last couple months.
So the way we make our robot move is something called swerve drive. It's pretty much if you envision like the front wheels on a shopping cart, how they can spin like a normal wheel, but then can spin 360. We pretty much have that motorized for all 4 wheels, so we can drive in all 8 directions and spin the robot at the same time. And we implemented this last year. It went okay, and one of the biggest things we're working on learning this year is making the swerve drive more efficient to take apart and put back together for maintenance reasons, but also the coding aspect, which a lot of teams have been collaborating on this year with open sources like Swerve Drive libraries and like free seminars on the topic itself.
How about you, Andrew?
What was the original question again?
Just some things that you've learned throughout this your first season, and yeah, just kind of new skills you picked up.
I've especially worked on the Impact Award, which is basically where we write up a bunch on what our team has done and how it has impacted our community and the first community. And so I've just learned a lot about the STEM world, as well as just a lot of more public speaking things.
Okay. How about you, Ethan?
So in my 4 years at robotics, the biggest skills that I have learned have not been anything to do with engineering or that aspect. It's been leadership, teamwork, and just how to communicate with people. In the past couple of years, most of our older team members have aged out, and a lot of them we just didn't have because they left. And so that left my grade, which started in about 10th grade, when we really had to step up more and be more of leaders in the team, causing my leadership skills to be put to the test and always growing. And with that, I've had to learn a lot about teamwork, because before this, I was a very individual person. And you cannot be an individual here. You have to work as a team to get things done. Nothing is done individually here. And that has just been something I've really had to adapt to. And then learning to communicate with others, because during the COVID pandemic, I was cut off from a lot of social interaction, and that really dampened my communication learning and skills. So I've had to kind of make that up, but this has been a perfect and safe environment to try to enhance and perfect my communication skills.
Awesome. How about individual roles? What kind of roles do you guys pick up as individuals? Are you guys like drivers? Are you more of the engineer aspect of things? I guess just overall, what are some main focus areas for you guys? What do you guys kind of like contribute?
Yeah, so you said perfectly. We have main focus areas and not just individual roles. Because like me, for example, I'm one of the 2 seniors on the team, so I've had to take more of a team captain role. But also I head up the Impact Award. But when we have that done, we'll all move to something else, like things like building the actual robot or maybe programming. And then last year I was even a driver too. So yeah, we all kind of do everything.
Yeah, together all 3 of us make up the Impact team. I personally take up roles as our PR, one of our PR personnel, doing kind of marketing and stuff within our team for some of like our logos and whatnot, but I also do enjoy driving, and that's just been something I've done since FLL.
And then I am again on the Impact team. working on that, especially helping with wording and stuff. And I've also am interested in being one of the drivers.
Awesome. And I guess that just for people who are kids who maybe aren't in robotics, so just overall, maybe you just kind of want to give a quick sales pitch to each of you on why maybe a student should join robotics if they're interested. Like, what are some things they have to gain from joining?
Yeah, so my sales pitch, very simple one. Robotics is a really inclusive and fun environment where people of all skills can come and either learn or enhance those skills. You could be anything from someone who doesn't know anything about robotics to someone who has a degree in robotics and still come to our team and have a great time and enhance your skills and learn some things and just really be part of a family and have a lot of fun. And it's really convenient that, we don't always practice 5 nights a week, so it can be very flexible for scheduling, and all that combines into just an absolutely perfect experience for any high school student.
And again, similar to what he was saying earlier about family, it's a very caring environment that uplifts people, and as we like to say, we build each other's toolboxes. We grow not just in our STEM abilities, but just in our abilities to work with and communicate with others, as well as with STEM abilities, and able to just really have a fun time doing it.
And for me, I know personally I am not the most sporty person. I am not that physically built for kind of running or competing activities, but I still have a competitive spirit. And that's why I take part in unconventional sports like FRC. There's a lot of game strategy and different expertise that can all be put to one common goal. But along with that, teams aren't actively, when we're not on the field, really nipping at each other. Like if someone breaks an arm on their robot and needs, I don't know, some zip ties or some extra screws, there's no fear to like go to a different pit and maybe ask to borrow some or swap a couple parts. It's really big, like just one big community that we're all just happy to see each other in.
Awesome. And overall, what's the your goals as as individuals and goals just as a team? What's the ultimate goal that you guys want to reach at the end of the year?
Yeah, so as an individual, my goals have been always to just strengthen those soft skills I mentioned earlier, but I think also a big goal would be to win the Impact Award. We've all been working very hard on that, and that's one of the things we really hope we can achieve this year. As a team, we are hoping to go to the Worlds competition. There's 2 ways to do that. We can either win one of our 2 regional events or win the Impact Award. So we are really hoping that we can participate in that Worlds competition this year because we haven't been able to do that in the past 4 years.
Awesome.
I think for me, it's more the soft skills that I'm, especially with public speaking, which does not come naturally to me, and just growing in those ways, as well as interested in the competitive pieces.
And for me, like I said before, it's kind of figuring out how I can kind of participate in something more competitive and not be worried about kind of a physical physique, because that's just not something I can really build into that fast. And it's more of a way to put my skills to the test where I have skills.
Awesome. Well, guys, before we get going, was there anything else you wanted to share about this, your guys' mechatronics team, or anything else you wanted to say about robotics or the season as you guys get deeper into it?
Just overall, we are super excited. We thank you for giving us this opportunity, and we hope that we see you guys again at some point.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. And thank you guys for your time here today.
Yeah, have a great day.
That was Ethan, Andrew, and Bridger from Alexandria Robotics. They are team number 3313, the Mechatronics, and this is the Your Live Event Robotics Show on yourliveevent.com.
Engineering, architecture, land surveying, environmental services. We have the experience to tackle all manner of projects. Widseth is known as a firm that is solid, agile, and versatile. And that's the kind of reliability you can expect when you engage us on your project.
They are invested in our community. They are invested with our people. They're going to create a product that's going to exceed our expectations every single time. That is why we go with Widseth.
A foundation forged in their grandfather's shop. Matt and Mike Martins know firsthand the value of quality machinery. At Martins Welding and Machine, they rely on 3 generations of knowledge and expertise in creating quality products for farmers, ranchers, residents, and businesses across North Dakota and beyond. To browse their full selection of bin caps, bale feeders, rock lifts, disc attachments, and more, visit martinswelding.com. Also ask about their garage doors. Martins Welding and Machine. Matt and Mike will make it right.
This is Chris from RDK Enterprises, your local precision planting dealer. Manage what you can to overcome what you cannot. Farming is all about preparing your operation to be successful when given an opportunity. Invest a few minutes and bring in your seed meters to be reconditioned and calibrated. We have some room, so give us a call and we can help you overcome those simple obstacles. RDK Enterprises, 636-2119 or planterdoc.com.
Gordon Construction of Mahnomen is a Native American-owned business proudly operating on the White Earth Indian Reservation since 1983. As a bonded general contractor, Gordon Construction provides years of experience in large, detailed, and within-budget projects. Gordon Construction is committed to the safety of its employees and the environment of its work sites. To learn more about Gordon Construction of Mahnomen, visit gcmahnomen.com or call 218-935-2191.
At Enbridge, we believe sustainability is the foundation of our success. How well we perform as a steward of our environment, a safe operator of essential energy infrastructure, a good neighbor, and a diverse employer defines our success. Learn more about Enbridge's environmental, social, and governance commitments and our Indigenous Reconciliation Plan at enbridge.com.
Welcome back to the Your Live Event Robotics Show. I'm Jack. I am happy to be here with Curtis, mentor of 4480. Excuse me, 44.
That's all good.
UC Robotics. Curtis, not just, Curtis he's the man with 1,000 hats, it seems like, and even one of those hats has a little light on it that blinks and everything else when he's no.
I got it here. Yep.
It's in arm's reach too. No, perfect. Well,
there you go.
Awesome.
Just for purpose.
It is awesome to touch back. To get back in touch with you. And we've gone through week 0. We're in the middle of week 1. You're actually you have it blurred out right now, but you are watching it.
That is correct.
As we speak. But let's start with that. How was week 0 for you guys?
So Actually, what was very unique for us this year is we were unable to attend a week 0, ironically enough. And that was just, it was purely circumstantial, just for schedule alignments and such between myself, the other mentor, and the students alike. But from what I've gathered and my talks with the other coaches is week 0 was very beneficial and enlightening, as it usually is, because it's your first chance to get a good crack at driving the robot with other teams there and seeing just a very small glimpse as to how the season's going to play out and how the robot's going to perform. And from my chat with some of the other coaches and such, is it was very educational. And it's put that way because many were getting the extra help they needed on some of their coding, particularly for like some of the newer drive systems and the swerve drive systems. We have a fair number of teams, not only in our area, but across the world that have really dived into the swerve drive system. And it's a new experience for many of them. And just getting the drive time, getting the opportunity to test their manipulators out with their game piece and the game elements. And it's great. It's awesome to have more often than not. I just wish it would happen a little more regularly before competition time, but it's always a good check to see where you're at right before heading off to the events.
Okay. Now, so weren't able to go to week 0. I mean, like you said, week 0 is really that time where, I mean, it's the preseason for you guys.
It is.
It really is. So, I mean, is there going to be with not going to the not going to week 0, has, you know, has the game plan for how, you know, the season's going to go for you guys, has that changed, or is it like, yeah, no, our bot's still good, we're still fine?
Well, our bot is very slowly being built this year. We've got a lot of newer students and a lot of newer members that have not had the experience before building. And so we've had a drivable base for about 4 weeks now, which is great. We've just been really struggling building our manipulator, the shooter, the climber, the intake, and everything, and getting that all to work cohesively together is really the difficulties we've been experiencing. But it's been a scheduling nightmare for many across the board between work, other activities. I've got a lot of students who are in the drama, and they had their one act play that was competitive, and more than just them, it's family life too. Families need the kids at home also. So for us, it's just been a lot of scheduling difficulties, but our robot is coming along. Our actual hope is to finish testing all our manipulators and everything here either today or Monday at the absolute latest. And I come from a unique standpoint because we don't actually have to compete with our robot for another 4.5 weeks. So we've got time, but I would love to take that time to actually test, drive, and experience how the robot actually plays, because we'll be competing with teams who've had practical field experience in competitions already.
Okay, so that there's a lot of other questions in there.
Yes.
For now. So let's go back to a lot of new faces on the team, which is fantastic.
Yep.
It was awesome to hear. Do you think I love the game. Crescendo is awesome. There's so many moving parts. Do you find it that this game is a little bit more difficult to kind of like bring people in on, or is it something that like, oh, it's hard, so you know the new people are just getting their teeth in it?
I don't think it's so much difficulty of bringing people in as much as difficulty executing what needs to be done. Like last year's game piece was fun. It worked awesome because it was something entirely different than what I had seen previously. That inflatable cube and the traffic cone, where this year's game piece is a giant ring. It's squishy. Like, how do you do that? And so as a mentor, it's awesome because that presents me as a whole new problem-solving design opportunity. But for our students who at a max here in Uppsala would have maybe 6 years of robotics, they usually don't see the same game piece ever over their experience. And so I wouldn't say there's really much of a difference on recruitment and getting people in as much as it is just trying to stretch your mind as to how can we do this? And what are the, not necessarily the best ways, but the most effective ways for us to be able to do it as well. Because there's more than one solution out there. It's just what works for us.
Yeah, no, it has been really interesting to see, talking with all the different teams and all the different kids, like all the different solutions they are having to the same, like, 2, 3, 4 problems. It's so interesting. And you brought up the, I'm going to call it the arm, but the delivery service. So what's tripping you guys up there? Is it something where it's like, hey, there's multiple ideas going forward, or is it like, we're just tripping up on this thing?
I don't think it was so much the multiple ideas. We settled on an idea pretty early on, and we actually were really ambitious on it, which was great, but we knew we could scale it back as necessary. And so we emulated a lot of the Rev Robotics pre-made robot design that they came up with, their concept of having, it's a T-style shooter where you got 2 sets of wheels, one on top, one on bottom, and then a string of wheels for your intake that would drop down low to pick up off the floor, and then it would raise to the appropriate angle for shooting. And we had it built, it took us about 2 weeks to fully get it designed and built and cut and everything. And that's practical skills, learning to cut properly, learning to place the bearings in what order and the motors and how to get them all set up. So it was a lot of training skills that it took to happen. But the other major trip up was we decided to go with a smaller chassis, and our manipulator was larger than our chassis. So we had to go through and cut parts and shrink it down to make it fit to our chassis perimeter. So we spent last week doing that. Now we're recovering from there. And actually today we should be mounting it to the robot itself also and finishing the wiring, as I said, so we can test it in play and see how it actually works.
Okay. Now, in that last part, testing it in play, like you said before, you have 3-4 weeks of until you're live on.
Yeah.
So what does testing in play look like for you guys? I mean, did you build a dummy stage or?
We built the practical shooter element. So there is the feed station, which our goal is to pick up off the floor. Anyhow, we're not really hoping to sit and have to wait for the slide portion of getting our rings. But we built a singular structure, which is that high level 6.5-foot shooting opening. So we built that part. And then on the back side of it, we also have the flat frets that you gotta put the ring into so that it sits flat against it. So what our goal is when we're done actually mounting the structure and getting it all wired and testing to make sure it's practically working, we're going to clean our floor off and get to our carpet area and set up that vertical structure and just try to line up and shoot and see how well it does do everything we needed to. And this is where now comes the fine tuning of what's the angles, how much power do you need, how often do you need to go full power versus half power? Can you shoot from a distance? Can you be right up on top only? Like the variables happen right now.
Okay. No, with the fine tuning, and you were explaining it there. Now, how much, if it is like, oh, okay, hey, we have to figure out whatever, like you were saying, the wheels, it can't be spinning that fast, so it shoots it at 100%. Is that all coding, or is that something that you guys are physically busting open a little engine thing? And
sometimes both. It really depends. So I say it that way because we were lacking one particular size of a wheel. So we had to upgrade the wheel to a larger diameter. In doing so, you have a faster RPM. You go a lot faster in terms of well, you don't have faster RPM. You have farther distance you can travel using a larger wheel. Let me rephrase that. So in that essence, we needed more torque. And so we had to add a gearbox because we were running it straight from the motor. And some of those elements. So now that we're gearboxed to that, we got to figure out, okay, is that something we could just run at full speed? Or do we got to dial it back because it's our lower motor on the shooter, not the upper? So if we've got a faster up and a slower top, what's going to happen? Is it going to go down? Is it going to scoop up? Like, it's a lot of playing. And so physically, we might have to adjust distances for compression's sake against the wheels versus the game piece, how much it squishes. But most of it's going to be code, making a number change, hitting save, build, deploy, test it again. Number change, save, build, deploy, do it again. And it takes time, and that's usually not a luxury.
No, I hear that. I definitely hear that. So you were talking about the wheels, and actually before we started, you were saying how much, like, you're surprised to see how much swerve drive has kind of become like almost the norm at this point.
Right.
Why do you think that's the fact?
So it's kind of been an increasing trend since, like the last 5-6 years. And take a look at the games, and that's what really drives the factor. The games have been played on since COVID, ultimately. So in our 21 season onward, the last 3 years, we have had a flat open playing field structure. There hasn't really been any bump elements or elements that require you to like climb up a certain series and back down a certain series, and that effect, like back in 2013 when we had the Stronghold season, where it was the castle siege and you had a variety of large scale objects and obstacles you had to cross. So I feel the game kind of drives what your drivetrain is going to look like. The other thing that drives what your drivetrain is going to look like a little bit is finances. And do you have the time and prowess to do it? So some of the teams I've talked with that have Swerve, they've been able to purchase it. It has a higher upfront cost. They've got it built, and usually the mechanical side of building it's not a problem. The difficulty is the programming aspect. Having the time to really dial it in, make sure all of the wheels are lining up perfectly in the directions they go, so they're not like kittywampusing, or when you say, hey, we want to point north, and the robot doesn't just go this way a lot. And that does occur. And so it's sensors, it's understanding like directional principalities, but also experience of driving. And so it's usually encouraged, if you're going to try a new drive system, you start it like in the summer or off-season time when it's not the main competition time, to do all that troubleshooting so you can get into the real season and then not worry about that as much. But going back to the original question, why is that? Look at the game. This year, there's really 3 major obstacles. And I say major obstacles because it's the 2 physical triangular structures on the field and then the other robots. And those structures don't have any elevation difference. It's just a lateral. So Swerve is superior in this effort because rather than driving like you do a car and you would have to back up and turn your wheels and then drive around, your robot can come on in and then just, I just need to strafe without having to physically back up and rotate its whole body. The wheels underneath pivot its direction.
Okay.
So it adds a lot of maneuverability and just directional speed to it. So because of that also, a lot of the gameplay has now been elevated, raising the bar for skills and capabilities on the field. Cycle times, meaning down and back, bringing your points to your party and to your alliance, are pretty key. How well can you play a defense? Can you get in the way of your opponent, or Are you strictly getting the game pieces and coming back?
Okay. Now, you actually brought up something there where I didn't even think of this. I don't even know if I touched on this with anybody else, but you brought up, the cost of these pieces. I mean, that's a real thing. So is
Yes.
there, when it comes to, teams, is that you is that a mentor's job to be like, hey, this is how much, like, these are the pieces we're getting, you guys, or is it really the students still saying like, hey, I know we have this budget and we're
It's kind of situational. And I say that primarily because it depends on how your organization is structured. Some organizations are very mentor and school led, like we're doing this as a curricular project. This is how we're going to like progress forward. But others take and totally throw it to the students like, okay, here's what we got for budget. You guys plan it out and we can order it and make it happen. But I do feel throughout all of it, there is a practical pros cons. Is this really going to benefit us? Can we execute it? Yes, the con is cost and time to make it happen, but you got to really look at your group. Who do you have? So I knew I had a fair amount of rookies coming in and newer individuals that have not had the experience before. Yes, we could build it, but I haven't had really strong, stable programmers in a long while. And so, yeah, we can go online, we could copy paste other people's product, but how do we make it our own then? How do we make changes that actually benefit us is the trade then. And that's our kind of our struggle point at this point, but also the finances. Larger schools, not even larger schools, but schools that have a good, strong financial backing can help support it. Whereas if you are a team, and I fell in this category, especially our first 5 years, where you built your robot and then you stripped it down because you had to reuse just about everything for the next season. And so there are limitations in that front too.
okay. Interesting. Yeah, no, again, something that I didn't even think about until you brought up, like, hey, this is a little bit more of a premium up front, but
It is.
and okay. So that's really interesting. Just another thing, just another thing that you guys
Right. It's one more level we got to plan for and think about out of all of it.
Oh, that's so crazy. That's so crazy. Man, I'm sorry, that just blew my mind because now I'm
No,
like,
you're good. That's
now I'm
how
all-
life runs for us. It's a very different experience. And I will also say that, even though it might be a difficult struggle for us right now, there is enough support out there between our communities and our other teams and just first in general that somebody's willing to help. You just got to be able to ask, and usually loud enough because some people, with everybody asking, your voice gets drowned out. So you just got to be willing to ask for the help and find the right connection. And it's amazing how the community is willing to help and be like, hey, have you tried this? Or here's what we did. So put that in. Let's see what we can do to adjust. It's really nice.
And again, that's another thing that's just so awesome that it's a lesson with inside of a lesson that I don't even know if the students really understand that they're learning this like very valuable lesson.
Right, no doubt.
But no, it's so cool. Now, you're watching week one right now. So what are as somebody as a mentor, are you watching it as a fan, or are you watching it more as like, okay, like this is what's up? I mean, like we just got done talking about it. Like you did, like there's a lot of swerve drive out there. Like what?
Oh, right, yeah. So I view it as threefold. I'm a fan of the game.
Right.
Because I got to cheer on my friends, my coaches, their teams, see them compete. Like, yeah, go for it. This is going to be great. It's going to be awesome. And seeing them compete. I look at it as a coach. Okay, I'm seeing what's working, what's not working, what are the struggles, what are the things maybe I didn't even consider looking out for that they're incorporating or having difficulties with that I could start bringing back to my students in my team. Like, okay, I'm seeing a lot of teams struggling with actually picking the game piece up off the floor. We need to make sure we're at the right height or adjust, that type of deal. And then I'm also looking at it on a competitive side. What are the actual strategies happening? Now, with week one, it's pretty even across the board of nobody's had a true competitive first game until now. And so the playing field I view is fairly even across the board because it's your first time out there under the spotlights. Everybody's new to this, like driving the robot experience, picking up with the competitive atmosphere and the sound effects and the noise. And there's just so much that now that I'm seeing it, it's like, okay, so what's going to happen? Week one is a lot of orientation, getting to know and feel the robot. Week two, you'll start seeing those teams that have had the week one experience dial in what they need to get better at, and then come into week two and just start having a good time is the only way I could put it, because they realize now this is what works. This is what we're exceptional at. Here's how we can do it. And they've got their strategy locked in. They know what they can do and their strengths, and they can start leveraging it more and more and more as they progress in these regional events.
That's awesome. Now, we've said it before. 3 weeks, 4 weeks out from first your first competition, which that would be.
Ours is technically week 6. It's April 5th and 6th in St. Cloud.
So it's the St. Cloud one. Okay.
Yep, we're in the inaugural Granite City Regional event, and so it'll be at the Rivers Center April 5 and 6.
Oh, perfect. Now, like you said, you got a lot of rookies, fresh faces. How much of this is going to be like? Do you have 1, 2, 3, 50% of the new folks that are like, no, I've never gone to a event before and I have no idea what this is gonna be
right.
like. If that's the case, like, are you like going to that event, getting prepared, and just being in the mental space of like, hey, this is like a rock concert. We got to do some of this too. So like, how is it kind of priming the new folks for this?
No doubt. Well, I'm sort of fortunate in that respects of my newest individuals that are on the team actually were a part of the fall event for the NMRC.
Oh, okay.
So they have attended an event, maybe not to the same scale of 54 teams as opposed to the 24, but it'll have a lot of the similar elements of the particular playing field, the lights, the sounds. There's going to be definitely a lot more bodies at this event than our excursion to Babbitt. However, they've got at least a little bit of a taste in that fashion as to what to kind of expect. Now, the other thing I do myself as a coach have to prep them for is they're going to be seeing a lot of folks that are from different walks of life all over. And that for our team is usually a great benefit, because being a small rural school, they don't get an opportunity to interact with urban students and urban kids who have a very different experience, like telling them, hey, yeah, this is usually about the time I go to pick rock. And they're like, what? What's picking rock? And it just like that concept of you definitely live a very different life than I do. And so it's nice in that aspect, because from all of my experiences now out of 13 years doing this, my kids come back glowing every time. And they're like, yeah, I made friends with so-and-so at this team over here. And they're out of like the Twin Cities from New Prague. And oh, we talked to out of North Dakota. It's like they get a chance to socialize beyond their own school. And it's a great opportunity, I feel, for growth and learning, because they realize that, there is more to this world than our little itty bitty town too, which is kind of fun.
Right. Now, okay, on that subject, like you said, the St. Paul. Any other big travel spots that you guys are thinking about going this year, or is it?
This year, not so much. And that's just strictly because when it came time to register and apply for events, we knew we wanted the St. Cloud event, but we didn't know if we were financially going to be able to swing any others at that time. When we found out we got in a grant, like at the last minute, that would have covered a second event, registrations had filled up with the exception of lotteries. And we were like one of 15 in line waiting for a spot at different regionals. And so we just didn't win the lottery this time. However, we're hoping to pool some of that funding into next year where we might be able to travel again and do something a little bit greater.
Okay. Again, it's week one is happening right now. How much of like next year's stuff are you looking forward to? How far in advance are you guys looking?
Well, I'm looking at a lot of week one right now. And so week one for Minnesota is happening in Duluth. They have two separate events going on concurrently. I like going to an earlier event personally, just because competitively the playing field's a lot more even. As I said, you don't have the practical field experience, whereas our first event's not until week 6 this year. And that's going to make it a challenge because we haven't had field experience, but how many other teams have had 1, 2, maybe even upwards of 3 other competitions before that one? So personally, I'm looking towards maybe an earlier event if possible. As far as travel goes, I guess it really depends on what's available. Minnesota had a shortage in event availabilities this year, but that was because they were trying to increase the amount of plays for teams because you can only fit so many rounds in a overall competition with so many teams. By reducing the total quantity of teams, you can hopefully get a few more matches in for each team. More bang for your buck, more chance to get the robot out and play the game, which is nice, but reduces again opportunities to go places if you have the funding to do so.
Okay.
So for me, yeah, I'd like to hit 2 events. I don't mind the Grand Forks event personally. I really enjoy that one. If we can swing it, yeah, I'm anticipating doing the Great Northern and Granite City, but we'll see what the cards bring us for funding and otherwise too, because that's also the big driver. How much money do we have?
Right. Yeah, no, again, it is such a cool, like, man, it'd be awesome if you guys could just go do everything.
Oh, it is.
Like, it's all.
It would be amazing to just be able to travel on a consistent basis out of state every time, but that bill gets a little spendy at times, and
yeah,
it doesn't seem to get any cheaper. So
yeah, no joke. No joke. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, last question. It's going to be
Sure,
last time. I always ask this, especially when we first talk. But now, week one, unfortunately, week 0 did not happen for you guys.
Right.
Has the goal for the team changed? And if you have a personal goal, has that changed?
Oh, for like how we are competing and just the team in general, or sorry,
Team in general, or even just season, or just anything that has to do with this year's game, anything.
So for me, my goal this year actually was primarily to get the kids experience more so than anything. I knew I was going to have a younger crew. I knew I was going to be trying to get some newer folks in. And for me, it was building on the experience of what do we need to do? What's our best way to accomplish that before we can compete so that we could hopefully move those skills forward into their next year. So a lot of my students that haven't had the practical skills and experience yet are sophomores. And so I've got some sophomores now that are super pumped for next year already. They'll be juniors. They can move up in that chain of being a little bit more of a leader for some of our newer kids and hopefully take their experiences from what we have been doing and applying it of their own. And so for me, again, it's a lot of just the experience of building,
Hmm.
but B, getting them to those competitions, getting them outside of the great state of Uppsala and seeing what's really out there. Because to me, it's the actual event experience that I feel really drives home the, wow, this is amazing. Because you can build a robot, you can do most anything you want out of your garage that we do here in the classroom. But you don't get that opportunity to take it and do and share with other like-minded individuals and other folks who've gone through the same experience you have with certain regard and are building or making a robot for a purpose that you might be partnered with and you might be working alongside, shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow, to get better, to improve. And so again, that's usually been my goal and philosophy, is get these kids experiences, because who knows, it might be a career path for them someday, whether it be actually building the robot, programming the robot, or maybe they just want to go be a salesman and talk about the team and otherwise. Everybody's got a strength. And one of the major things I love about this program is because anyone can do it. You don't have to just turn a wrench.
No, yeah, that has been fairly clear throughout all my anybody can do this, anybody should do this. Oh my goodness.
Very much so.
It's such a it's fun. It seems
really is.
It seems like a blast, but oh my goodness, all the tools you get to, not, pardon the pun, but all the tools, the clubs that you actually get to put in your bag or your toolbox.
Oh, no kidding.
From this,
it is a superb extracurricular activity that I feel truly helps the students move forward with 21st century job, place, career skills, and beyond.
Yes, no, 100%. I'm forgetting who said this, but it was so correct. Talking, doing an interview, and it was saying, we are setting up the employees that you actually want to employ.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, yes, that's 100% what this is. It's such a simple way of saying it, but yeah,
I'm gonna name drop, but that totally sounds like Olaf. It's really what I feel like.
Olaf. You're 100%
totally
right.
like Olaf.
You're 100% right. No, it was Olaf. I'm like, man, it was like 2-3 weeks ago. Who would?
Yeah, that totally sounds like Olaf for me. Yeah. But it's awesome.
That's about right. Yeah, but again, Curtis, seriously, thank you so much for your time.
Most definitely.
Awesome,
Thanks,
as
Jack.
always.
100%.
Any last thoughts, anything like that before we?
Not really, other than here's hoping and good luck to all the teams that are actually competing right now and also next week at Grand Forks for the 2 main quick events. Otherwise, most teams are going to hang out until week 6, which is both the Twin Cities and St. Cloud concurrently at the same time. So a little bit of downtime in between.
Little bit, just a little.
Yeah, but good luck to everyone.
All right. Well, thank you guys. For everybody else, stay tuned.